ultimately, it is government that will formulate, adopt, and then ultimately implement policy. Okay? Now that you are AP government students, you're going to be fancy, and you're not going to call these branches of government. You are going to call them policy-making institutions. You want to say that together? Policy-making institutions. Okay? So, tell me then, Travis, who formulates, adopts, and implements policy? The government does. So those policy-making institutions, in other words, political parties do not make policy. The media cannot make policy. You and I cannot make policy. It is rather the government that can ultimately formulate and make policy. Okay? So just to make sure, our three policy-making institutions are the legislature, the executive, and the judicial. And again, remember, this doesn't have to be specifically just a law, right? It could be when the president decides to take a military action. It could be when the court makes a ruling about a particular case and exercises judicial review. It could be when Congress decides to increase funding for a program. Like, you guys, it could be very, very small. It could be if Congress decides to have a hearing and just have people come in and testify before them, they're still trying to somehow, some way shape public policy because they're doing something. They're taking some kind of action. All right? All right, the result of government action or inaction is public policy. And remind me, Brennan, what do we say public policy? Fancy Shannon words. It means?
What public policy
means?
I was still on policy-making institutions.
Were you? Kind of blew your mind there a little bit?
Like,
Then
I'm still, trying to say the word.
We'll get there.
Something that government does.
Everything government says and does. That's right. And so that will be the result of public policy then, right? So government says something, they do something, they don't do something. That is the policy. But it's not over. Because not everybody agrees in our country. There is never a time that 100% of all of us are like, woo, we are on board. So there will be a winner and there will be a loser. Just like in every sports game, that was nice, wasn't it? Like in every sports match, competition, game, playoff, whatever, there's a winner and there's a loser. And so, funky, there we go. All right. Yep, that's what I was going to talk about, because the Supreme Court made a landmark decision this summer, and they provided some clarity about same-sex marriage, okay? So, lots of feelings out there. People are communicating all kind of inputs. Political parties have stances on it. There have been elections surrounding candidates who have campaigned and promised to support equal marriage right of it. The media covers it constantly, because it makes for good TV. There are lots of interest groups out there that have feelings, and we've got it on the agenda for long enough that the court said, okay, it's time for us to take this case and make a decision. The decision that they made resulted in a public policy, and there's now two different camps of people. So what's going to happen next kind of just depends on, really at this point, it's the losers. But I guess it's also the winners and how do they respond to the losers, right? It's clear. Same-sex marriage is protected by the Constitution based on interpretation by the Supreme Court, right? But there are still other things that might happen. What if we have businesses that refuse to offer services to couples that are planning a same-sex wedding? Okay? So, could that cause this policy to continue to be debated? 100% it could. Or, we might just let it go. Right? It just depends on the intensity and the feelings and the emotions and the size and all of that, but that's why this policy will continue on and on. Okay? All right. There was one more word that we need to write a definition of. Right here in the middle, I want you to write the word politics. Kelsey, how does that word politics make you feel? Like when I say the word politics, what kind of words come to mind? Yeah, okay, good. What about you, Roberta? Okay. Cassie, what do you think?
Frustrating.
Okay. Did any of you think kind of like crooked or...
Yeah,
dirty or corrupt or... Yeah, people tend to think that way. Politics is a really negative connotation. It's like a very used car salesman kind of connotation. But there's lots of really nice used car salesmen, right? So while that may be an earned reputation, it's a stereotype. Here is your definition of politics. It's who gets what, who gets what. That's it, okay? So by that notion, I guess what I'm asking you to just kind of broaden your perception of politics. Everyone is a political animal in that sense. My 7-year-old child has things that she wants and a methodology for trying to achieve that. Sometimes she's successful, sometimes she's not, right? So then she's going to continue that strategy over and over again. And that's really what happens in our political system in terms of trying to achieve whatever your desired result is. Okay? All right.